Martin is the only person I have remaining, and Captain Stewart is the only person I have remaining. And the reasons why is because there can only be unlocked in bargain. Everyone else have been solved simply based on process of elimination. Like all the seamen and all the top men can be identified based on their hammocks that they were sleeping in during the period of loose cargo. Well, not of loose cargo, of bitter coal. Like if you go to the first chapter of bitter coal, we see most of everyone sleeping in hammocks in bitter coal. So they were the easiest to solve, and I thought that they would have been the hardest because I was imagining from the point of view of if you want to hide someone who's a criminal, you would hide it amongst the randoms everywhere. But this was never about a criminal. This was simply about accountability. This is an insurance type game. And what fun. And that's when I started to get upset that this was simply like a bean counter type game rather than detective type game. So if you're looking for like a true detective game, I wouldn't say this is it. I would say simply this is a true process of elimination game with a, a good half% of what detective work would do, but the other half is not present. So you wouldn't be able to get a detective game that's 75%, at least 75% good or above the halfway marker. Half of the marker of detection is partially identifying things on how they happen, where they happen, why they happen. Well, not why, how they happen, who, what, where, when, and that's it. The why is unnecessary. It's the who, what, where, when, and then once you know the who, what, where, when, you then could answer the question with regards to the outcome. The why falls more in the line of that of the detective. So half of what would be considered that of a detective can be present here, and the other half, such as what was the person like, what was their family like, more psychological stuff, or personal stuff. None of that is present here. So half of detection work isn't present here, but the other half is. So from that point of view, I would say this is a 8 out of 10 game. Simply based on that, I did have fun, but it does have a limitation. The environment is limited. The pocket watch is limited. You can't use keys or anything. You can only use the pocket watch. So there's a huge limitations in the game. There are many little things in the game that becomes sort of a nuisance as you go along. Um, Certain things don't make sense with regards to their logic, such as you have a monkey in a ship that's part of the good surgeon's companion, but the surgeon doesn't like the monkey, and eventually the monkey is running all over the place. And then you have the artist that's in the ship, and you see him with a sword try to fight out stuff, and it makes sense. You know he won't be able to do anything because he's not a fighter, but he managed to survive all the way up to the doomed ship, which means he was hiding most of the time. But I've noticed he wasn't hiding. He was, if anything, he should have been killed in the process. Um, way, way before the Kraken showed up. So that would make sense in that the seamen, some certain seamen and certain people who have skills in fighting didn't survive, but he managed to survive even though I saw him with a sword once and stuff, or about to help, even if he doesn't fight. Um, there's other things as well that doesn't really make sense. It's not this deck. No, it wasn't here. No, must have been down below, but there are certain areas that you can't get past because the game has a mechanic that don't allow you to get past it. but you can easily walk over it, like with your feet, if you wanted to. But the mechanic of the character is not to walk over anything. Like this, I could walk over this. See how easy this is? I could go here, I could go there. There's no reason for me to be over here. If the guy died over here, then he should have locked me off to over here. But I have a mechanic that I could go over here. Simply because maybe he wanted me to pull on the door from the outside. But at no point it needed for me to access the door from the outside whatsoever at all. So that era was simply pointless. It was just there to be there. It was not needed in the story. Then I thought to myself, well, maybe they just did it to did it. But then I go back here, I believe, into the lower deck. I go back here, and I realize, okay, so this is blocking my path, so I can't jump over this, or crawl over this, or walk over this, but I could easily climb over this if I want to. It made no sense. There's no reason for me to not be able to get in there. It makes no sense because the game doesn't want you to get in there, because it doesn't serve a purpose. But if that doesn't serve a purpose, then that little area of that door I was able to walk into didn't serve a purpose, nor that door being locked doesn't serve a purpose for it being locked if there's nothing relevant there whatsoever. So there's small little things with regards to the game that don't really make sense, but pushing forward I was able to solve most of everything because I've been paying attention to all the details in the game and everything about the game, the anatomy and atmosphere of the game as well. So I've pretty much figured out everything, and I could pretty much like exit the game now and conclude the last section of the game, like like all the top men and all the seamen were easy to identify simply based on their tags, like 58. Like, you know who 58 was simply based on his shoe design. Back here, he wouldn't say, okay, it says 58 is Patrick O'Hagan. So you know who 59 was, or 58 was. So O'Hagan, but who is O'Hagan? How does O'Hagan look like? You didn't know who he looked like. You just know that was his name. So you just look for anyone 58 that has this design on his shoes, and eventually once you go through different parts of the story, you're looking at people with shoes of this type of design, those 3 buttons, that's dark in nature, not light shoes that have 3 buttons on it dark. That's how you identified him. And the same happened to all these characters. Like I said, well, if this is O'Hagan, and he will be sleeping next to people who are his close allies and companions, people he talked to. So that's how you were able to do that. The same with the Russians. The Russians were playing cards during this time. So you knew they were Russian because only they would be able to understand what they were saying. Playing cards. And you see this 42nd, he was 47. You say, okay, so he's a Russian and he is in bed 47. But, and his name, I couldn't tag his name. I think I realized, okay, so I needed to know who was smoking a pipe laying in bed 47. Which one of these was the Russian laying in bed 47? Because I identify him as laying in bed 47, but I didn't know which one of them was in bed 47 that smoked a pipe. So I had to wait for the different parts of the story to see who was smoking a pipe, and sure as shit, he was the one that was smoking a pipe. So that easily made me identify the other 2 as well, because then it was simply based on the one with striped shirt and the one with not striped shirt, what they were doing throughout the story. And then I said, okay, well, if he's the only one that has this thing, then the other 2, I simply shuffled their names about, and then that's how I was able to figure them out. So by knowing who he was specific based on detective work. These two were more based on simply process of elimination. So that's how all that happened. So top men and seamen, they were easily identified simply by boots, by their hands, or by their clothes, or where they are, or who their companions were. That was something that was rather simple to do and simple to understand. Even this gentleman over here, like, I identified him easy simply because he had a tattoo on his arm. So I had to find every guy that had tattoo on their arm, and only one person had a tattoo of a woman on his arm. That was a specific guy. So that's basically how that got solved. Like, sometimes you don't need dialogue, or sometimes you don't need faces, you just need a specific object to find out the name of a person. So I'm pretty much done with the game. All I need to do was, like, I got her name confused because I thought she was Chan or Kwan, but and here as well. Here as well, you had the Asians speaking. One was speaking and said, "Yes, I'm okay," but closed chest. If the monster, blah blah blah. So it kind of identified what was going on. But I needed more information with regards to the story. So as the Asian kept talking, um, eventually said the woman's name, Miss Lim, and I completely missed that before. I tagged her as Chan, and then then when I went back to her name, and I realized I tagged the wrong name for the wrong woman. She's the only one with the word Lim on her name. So I thought it was, for some reason, I thought that name, his name, Choltan, was this person. But then I completely forgot. It's simply a matter of paying attention to details. That's all it is. Lim was in the name the whole time, and I was just tired. That's all it was. And I wanted the game to be over past the halfway point because I realized it was more about insurance man doing his insurance man job, and it was less about being a detective. So by that time I was out the door, but then I came back and realized, well, I'd rather close out the story fully than to just, like, give up halfway, simply because this is really not a detective game so much as it is a process of elimination of a detective type game. Yeah, that said, I'm proceed forward with the story.
Checked and loaded up, I said.
Stay quiet and alert. If the wind picks up, we've no chance against the Obra Dinn.
So I think I'm over, and the only people left is the one that'll show up in Bargain.
We should go. Storm's nearly about, so we won't be coming back. Finally. Sit down so you don't fall out.
I've always said this, but like if someone finds any job that it's about bean countering to be interesting, like the only interesting part about the bean countering is the amount of money that you saved up from it, not the process of it. So there's no really adventure in that type of job. The only adventure is knowing that at the end you will have a certain amount of a thing to invest in something else. But the process is quite boring and quite taxing and tedious. But it's not tedious in the ways of a painter being a painter and painting something that's tedious and interesting and entertaining. It's more tedious as in its numbers. It's quite boring.
The thing smells just dreadful. Better you don't open it inside. I'll be turning in now. Tea's in the kitchen if you need more.
So this is what happens when you solve everything, or at least when you get most of everything solved. I wanted to complete this game as in complete this game fully. So I had to make sure I put a couple of hours into this game past the time I finished it the last time, and to make sure everything was accounted for, because I wouldn't have been satisfied if I didn't account for everything. It feels longer because this whole journey was that from the point of view of an insurance inspector, which is his job is quite boring as shit, so it felt very tedious and very exhausting. That's why I can't really give this game like a 9 out of 10 out of 10. The guy who's the main protagonist of this game, if you could even call it that, is isn't someone I would ever want to be. He's there to do insurance work. Everyone does tedious jobs in every job, but seriously, I don't consider this to be a good protagonist if he is one. His job is quite boring.
There you are. Collect your things.
Where's the key?
To that door. Gone. There's no time. We need to go.
Right.
Was that animal's dead hand or something?
What are you up to?
Nothing good.
Wait a minute. What the hell? Wait, was that the monkey's hand that emailed it to him? What the hell? Wait, what the hell's going on? This isn't bargain. Nothing's presented yet. Wait, this is the doc. The doc shoot his own monkey? So the doc blew his own monkey away? The hell for? Wait, did the monkey have the doc's key? That's what happened. The monkey probably had the doc's key. Okay, so I'm gonna guess what went on here. The doc went down to the Lazarus and said he wanted to inspect the bodies of the creatures because he's a surgeon, or he's the ship surgeon, or someone got injured here, over here, and from what I remember, the captain's steward got locked up in here. So he was probably attacked by whatever was locked up in here with him. The surgeon probably went down to see the injury of the man that got locked up in here for being crazy. Unless this was... Okay, wait. Yes, this was during the process of the mutiny. The mutiny happened right after Doom. So the mutiny happened during Bargain, directly after Doom, because the Kraken was attacking, and the captain stopped the Kraken from attacking. I'm assuming he used the magic seashell that the Formosa family had in his cabin, and the Kraken left. And after the Kraken left, that's when everyone mutinied, or during the process of the... No, it's after the Kraken left. They then decided they wanted to not be attacked anymore. They wanted to keep the treasure for themselves. So you could say the mutiny started during Escape, but the truth is the mutiny probably started during Bargain. They made the decision during Bargain to mutiny after Doom, and it's during Escape the mutiny went on the way. So after whatever the captain did, yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the mutiny started during Bargain after the captain did what he did. So they should show what the captain did here. Okay, at least I know what happened to him. He got spiked by the creature. So the third steward went down into this place. Why he was in here? He wasn't chained up. Was he chained up? No, he wasn't chained up. That's just his blood. Chains are on the floor. There's no change to his arm or anything, so he wasn't locked up. So after what happened with Doom, he came down to where the beings were in order to... He figured, man, this is what probably happened. He figured something was going on, so he charged down here, and this is where he died. Someone was letting the creatures out using this, and there's someone who was locked up, which means this was the captain's steward. He used this. What the hell? Why would they put this object in here with the captain's steward? That's so stupid. This guy was mental. Yeah, so this is the part of the game I would say is dumb. So they locked the treasure up in here with the beast. And then he went about opening it and getting killed by it. Like, why the hell would they put it in here? Oh, I see. The people who are on the ship did not open it, so they don't know what's exactly in here. Or they didn't try to open it, so they don't know what's in here. They just know it's a treasure, and it cannot be opened without a key. But how was he able to get inside?
A third shell. The captain didn't toss them all. Leave it. Help me lift it.
Oh, there was a third shell.
You free?
Do it! Hoist it out. To the main deck. Throw it over. Lock the door when you leave.
Get the tail, boy.
The Obra Dinn. See it over.
Okay, so he stuck his arm in there. I still want to know how he got that damn thing open. It wasn't poison. I thought that thing was poison. No, that thing was acid. Decapitated. Burned. No, it wasn't a burn. Torn apart. No, it wasn't torn apart. It was no attacker. It was an object. He did the same thing that Formosa guy did. Stuck his hand in there. What did I put for? Yeah, poison. It was poisoned by sticking his hand in there, so what's the deal? Makes no sense. He was poisoned. His hand is not there anymore. Wrong person. Yeah. I keep forgetting that's the ship. The ship's the captain's steward. That's it. The captain's steward was the one that went crazy. He was poisoned. I can't identify him. No. He stuck his hand in there, so I can't tag him yet. Can't decide his fate. His fate is obvious.
I'll kill every last one of you monsters. Withdraw the Kraken, or I will kill you all! Ah! Call it off, damn you! This is your Kraken! You brought it here! Send it back!
Okay, so he broke into it.
Quicksilver. Herre min Gud!
Okay, so he was locked up here. He broke off his chains and managed to walk over here to the treasure. I don't know how he broke off his chains. It's not like he had a knife or a weapon or anything. So the story is finally done. Still don't make sense how he broke out. If he has chains on, where did he get the weapon to break the chains? It's not like he had a lockpick or anything on him. So he was chained here. He was chained here. He was offered something to drink. I'm just assuming this is part of the deck. Like these circle things are just part of the deck. Like screws into the deck or reinforcements for the deck. And the only thing he had on him was a cup of joe or whatever alcohol they gave him or food. So how the hell did he break that off and manage to get over here? Unless the chain was so weak he managed to snap it without ripping out the boards. He snapped the chain without ripping out the boards. That's the only thing that does make sense. Or he was chained right next to it, which there's no chain to prove that he changed right next to it. Nor was there any weapon in here for him to use in order to escape. So how did he break out of something, and why is it intact rather than broken from him ripping it off? See what I mean with regards to the game? A lot of things don't make sense. He didn't even damage his arm in the process. He just managed to strong arm it and break the chain itself without breaking the base, which means he would have to be incredibly strong in order to do that. So how were they able to subdue him and tie him up if he's that strong? So yeah, certain things just don't make sense, but for the context of the story, you know, I'm just gonna say he broke off and managed to open this up. But where did he get the seashell from? The seashell was in the lower section. There was an extra one, another one inside of this compartment here. So when the creatures claimed the original shell, there was another shell as well present. So there was more than one shell that they were after, the creatures were after. And then he found it in here, and then the captain came in and actually tried to stop them from having the Kraken attack the ship by shooting them, telling them to let the Kraken leave. Probably killed them straight out, and then the Kraken left. So they were probably summoning the Kraken by way of using music in order to get the creature to pop up as well, by using the horns or whatever type of object they use. So these mystical seashells are things that are found in the water that Formosa had, and they probably stole from these species and they wanted to claim it back. So at least now the mystery is solved for the entire game. I mean, I knew the captain was responsible for making the Kraken go away, but I didn't know whether he was responsible for the mutiny, or the mutiny simply happened simply because it happened. So I believe the first and the second mate were either in cahoots, or the second mate was just greedy, stole, wanted to know what was in there. Once he found out what was in their treasure, he wanted to know how to use it, took them away. The creatures got summoned. He came back to the ship after the men died, showed them the information that he collected, like these strange creatures, as a reward after his greed. So this whole story started because this whole things on the ship started because of one man's greed. All he had to do was leave the Formosa alone to go on the way. He was greedy. He wanted stuff, And eventually the first mate decided to mutiny with the others simply because they wanted the Kraken and the beast to not kill them anymore. So I decided to take it on themselves to seize the ship outside of the captain's authority. And they didn't want the treasure at all. They just wanted the beast to go away. Or maybe they did want the treasure. Maybe they did want the treasure as well. But they wanted the beast to go away. But it seems more like the mutiny happened because they wanted the beast to go away. So I was right with regards to that. The mutiny was simply because they wanted to stop something from happening, which the captain was responsible for, which he kind of was. He had the shell and had the objects in his presence. He had creatures locked up, and he was responsible for their captive, why they mutiny. So I knew the story was about a mutiny because of something the captain did. He kept them on ship, but I didn't know the mutiny because the captain caused it. The cause of this mutiny was due to the greed of the second, not due to the greed of the captain. So the pocket watch can be identified as the pocket watch from the surgeon, but it really this is the surgeon's pocket watch, so it's not originally the captain's pocket watch. But the game never really said it's the surgeon's pocket watch. You can only assume it's the surgeon's pocket watch because the surgeon is the one that gave it to you. And maybe he had used it at one point or another throughout, but I never saw him use a pocket watch. So the pocket watch is pretty much unknown to me. I'm just going to go with it being the surgeon. But I still put it out there that it has something to do with the captain. So yeah, that's the end of the story for me. I'm exiting out. And that's the end. So was I right with most of everything? Yes. Was I wrong with regards to some things? Yes. So I would say I was more than half right with regards to many things, and I was only wrong with regards to probably 35 to 40% of things. So the captain was mainly responsible for a lot of deaths, but I didn't know that the second mate was the main villain. So mostly right with many things, about 40 things wrong.